Ashtree Farm Drainage Mill, one of the last broad drainage mills built and the last to work by wind. Ashtree Farm Drainage Mill stands on the south bank of the River Bure just outside Great Yarmouth. It is the last drainage mill on the river before it joins Breydon Water and empties into the North Sea. When it was built in 1912, it was one of the last, if not the last, drainage windmill to be constructed in Norfolk. In 1948 it became the last to work by wind after Stracey Arms Drainage Mill was decommissioned. The mill was constructed by the Acle millwrights Thomas Smithdale and Sons, and built at a time when many other mills were being dismantled, so it's not surprising that Ashtree Farm Mill was built using several second-hand components as well as new material. Even when the wooden gearing was removed in the 1940s, it was replaced with cast-iron gearing thought to have come from Flegborough Mill. The mill was used for 41 years until its working life came to an abrupt end in 1953 during the storm that preceded the North Sea floods. The 1953 floods were the worst in Britain during the 20th century. The storm that culminated in the flooding took place on the evening of the 31st of January 1953 and carried on throughout the night into the morning. The high spring tide combined with low pressure and strong winds caused the sea to flood areas of land that were usually well above sea level. Just over 300 people on land died due to drowning. 100 of those lived in Norfolk. In addition to the terrible loss of life, many buildings were destroyed or badly damaged. One of these was Ashtree Farm Drainage Mill. The wind whipped in behind the sails and they were torn off. They were destroyed as they crashed to the ground. Although it had already been in a declining condition, the mill was still used to move water off the surrounding marshes at the time of the storm, and discussions had begun over how the mill could be preserved. The English windmill by the acclaimed molinologist Rex Wales dedicated a chapter to Ashtree Farm and the drainage mills. However, by the time the book was published in 1954, the mill had ceased to work. This sketch therefore represents the mill at the very end of its working life. It shows the mill's fantail at the back of the cap, patent sails to the front, and the telltale housing of a scoop wheel attached to the base of the tower. Other diagrams from inside the tower show the live curb, that is, the cap moves around the curb on sets of wheels. And the crown wheel and pit wheel that transmitted the drive from the upright shaft to the external scoop wheel was also illustrated. This photograph was taken in July 1950, so a few years before the sketches. Cecil Smithdale, who was the last owner of Smithdale's vehicle, is quoted as having said that the squealing of the mill as it operated toward the end of its life could be heard in Acle when the wind blew in the right direction, over 6 miles away as the crow flies. This drawing by Arthur Smith shows the state of the mill in September 1973. The cap is open to the elements and the cover of the scoop wheel has gone entirely. This photograph tells a similar story. Between 2003 and 2006, it was restored by the local millwright Richard Seago. We are very fortunate that there are still some individuals with the skills necessary to pull these glorious machines back from the brink. However, the number of professional millwrights operating now is so low, millwrighting is officially recognised as a critically endangered craft. Here we see replacement stocks being lowered through the canister. It is to the stocks that the sails are attached. Millwrights are skilled engineers who also need a good head for heights. Ashtree Farm Mill's tower is 26 feet tall to the top of the brickwork and 35 feet to the top of the cap, and Ashtree Farm Mill is by no means a big mill. And here we can see the restored Ashtree Farm in all its glory. Ashtree Farm Drainage Mill is privately owned, but is leased to Norfolk Windmills Trust. The trust was established in 1963 with the objective of preserving the county's most important mills. It celebrates its diamond anniversary in 2023, the same year that we also commemorate the 70th anniversary of the 1953 North Sea floods.